What's up, guys? Welcome to Squad this week. We covered the controllables, the uncontrollables, as well as taking charge and taking personal responsibility for ourselves, for our teammates, for our families, and for our coaches and how we interact with them. We also talked about emergency response protocol. If you don't remember that from May, definitely check out that spot in this recording and let us know how we can support you as well. So good to see you. Hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. Have a great week. We'll catch you soon. So this week we are talking a little bit about control, but we're also more so talking about taking charge. And by taking charge, I also mean taking responsibility, because a lot of what we think about when we want to become better goalies requires that we take responsibility for our actions and for our planning, our preparation, our procedures, for how we treat people, and for our behaviors, right? So we already covered this icebreaker, right? What is in and out of your control? But what we're going to dive into today is what it means to take charge. I think that we have responsibilities to a few different people or groups or parties that I'll get into in a second. And then when we think about taking charge, we want to think about how what we do is going to create an impact. And so there is a little bit of homework here as well, but I mean, it's not out of the ordinary from other things that I've asked you guys to do. It's pretty similar to some other things that we've talked about. So let's get into it. If it would click, there it goes. All right, taking charge means that you understand your responsibilities, A, to yourself, B, to your teammates, C, to your coach, or excuse me, to your parents or family, and D, to your coaches. And then you understand how what you do affects other people and how you impact people. And so when we think about taking charge, really, and I mentioned it in the email that I sent on Thursday or Friday or Wednesday or whenever it was, that we need to learn how to advocate. We need to learn how to take control of what we can and really take responsibility again for these four things that we'll talk about here in a second, and then how those responsibilities show the impact that you have through your behavior. So first off, taking charge of yourself. If we all want to be elite goalies, high end, top end, best guys in the league, best girls in the league, move on to higher levels, we need to take responsibility and take charge of ourselves. We need to be responsible for all facets, right? Facet or aspect is another word, of our preparation, of our attitude, right? We talked about being in control of our attitude or our preparation. Our thoughtfulness. When I think of thoughtfulness, I don't just think of thoughtfulness towards people. I think thoughtfulness in the details, right? And so I mentioned that here as well. Thoughtfulness is thinking through multiple steps. Thoughtfulness is thinking about many things in detail. We need to be responsible of how considerate we are of others. Here is a bottom line truth. You will never do anything, you will never accomplish anything 100% on your own in this world. At some point, you're going to need an external input as well to help you along. This most obviously is your parents, right? You couldn't be where you are now if your parents didn't act in a certain way up to this point. You couldn't be where you are now without your siblings or your friends or your teachers or any outside influence. We wouldn't be where we are. And so we need to take charge. We need to take responsibility of how we think about others. We need to take responsibility for our nutrition, for our sleep and recovery, for our daily habits, and for our equipment. In the end, guys, if we want to be elite goalies, we need to recognize that it's our responsibility to become elite goalies. It's nobody else's responsibility. It's us. It's on us. And hopefully we put in place the right practices, the right habits, the right people to help us along in that journey. And the second part of this is changing the way that we behave, right? Our reactions to change is controllable. We're all experiencing a lot of change right now. We're all experiencing a lot of adaptive, fluid, weird times. Everyone is. But how we react is controllable. And again, today we're thinking about our responsibility, how we take charge. Our reactions to events is a responsibility of ours, right? How you behave shows who you are. And so just as a side note here, right, we actually saw these 2 points, the ERP and the mind is the number one most important asset. We saw these back in May. If you've been a part of these squads on Sunday, if you've been a part of these, this was in one of the very first ones that we did. If we want to be the best, we need to take responsibility of ourselves, which means we need to take responsibility of our behaviors. And when we're stressed, when we're emotionally charged, we don't make the right decisions most of the time. And so we need to put in place an emergency response protocol to help ourselves behave better so that we can achieve our goals and help other people achieve their goals, right? So again, stemming down from responsibility is how we act, is how we feel and think, determines how we act, determines how effective we are at taking responsibility. And so your emergency response protocol, when we think about things that happen, Luke mentioned, okay, we give up a goal off of a tip. The emergency response protocol is our reaction to what happens when things go bad. Number 1, stop and breathe. Number 2, evaluate and assess what just happened. How am I going to move forward? What is the simplest thing that I can do? And then you execute on that simplest thing, right? You execute on that next immediate step. So goal goes in that gets tipped. You had no chance of stopping it. You could blow up and lose your mind and go crazy, or you could pause, stop, breathe, evaluate what happened, assess the situation, ask yourself how you're going to move forward, and then execute the next step. Okay, what's the next step? Well, after I give up a goal, I just go to the corner to clear my head and I get a drink of water. Perfect. That's your next step. And then once the puck drops, I tell myself, stick on puck or whatever it is. You might have a different mantra that you repeat to yourself, or maybe it's heels at the top of the paint. That's my next step. When I give up a goal, my next step is heels at the top. And that's all I think about. And that allows you to get back into the frame of mind where we're not in a state of emergency. And remember, when we're in a state of emergency mentally, we don't behave the way that we want to behave. We don't think the way that we want to think. And that makes it harder to be successful. In that same vein, in that same track, remember that our mind is our number one most important asset. Your brain, more than anything, differentiates you from somebody else, your brain. And when we're clouded by emotion, and that should be we, because it's not just you, right? It's me, it's us, everybody. When we're all clouded by emotion, we don't process and react as well, which means our behaviors aren't in line with what's going to make us successful. And this directly changes how we play and how we interact with others, right? If we're in this state of high alert, emergency, angry, we're not going to be able to move on well, and we're not going to be able to support our teammates well and move on in a way that we can then adapt and overcome and make the game happen in the way that we want it to happen. So wrapping up, taking charge, taking responsibility for ourselves. In order to be elite goalies, we must be able to control our behaviors. To control our behaviors, we must have an emergency response protocol, right? ERP, which is how we overcome setbacks. And we must invest in our minds. We must invest in how we change our behaviors. So we'll move on from this. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll just pause here for a sec. Does anybody have questions? Quick. Questions, ideas, thoughts? No? Jack, yeah, unmute yourself.
How do you create like a mantra or how do you say, what did you say, a mantra, or what is
Yeah,
it called?
mantra. Yep.
Yeah, how can you create one to like match your style or like your personality to when you give up a goal?
Yeah,
Is
great
it like something
question.
is it like something you're struggling with, or just like a short quote that you like think will
Yeah,
calm you down?
I would say it's the opposite of what you're struggling with, right? Because what we want to do is we want to get back into a confident, comfortable space. We don't want to remind ourselves what we're bad at, right? Right? That's the last thing that we want to do when we make a mistake is remind ourselves how bad we are at something. So
Mhm.
what when I'm at games with my wings guys, I don't do it when I'm away from them, but when I'm at games, I ask them at the beginning of the game, what are 3 things that you want to remember today? What are 3 things that are going to define how this game goes? What are 3 things that you want to be your definition of today? And those might be stick on puck, breathe, calm, controlled, aggressive, feet at the top, like just super simple words or tidbits that define your ideal, right? So, Jack, your ideal game might be a little different than Dom's or than Nick's or than Luke's, right? And so, how do you come up with one that fits with how you want to play? Well, you just think about your perfect game. What do you want to feel? How do you want to act in that perfect game? Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, you got it. So I'll use Henry as an example last year because he's in college now. Oftentimes, when we talked about what his best games were, they were when he was aggressive, when he was moving on his feet, and when he was explosively controlled, right? So that he was not all over the place, explosive like Dom Hasek was flying everywhere, but that he was over safe, right? That he was explosive, making simple, quick, sharp movements, right? And so that's what defined his game. That's what defined his game. And so when we got to the end of the game, we would ask, okay, how well did we hit that goal? And that would be another way to decide whether it was a good game or not, right? Did we move on our feet well or not? Were we aggressive? How was our depth? Was I calm and controlled, or was I explosively controlled, or was I just explosive or too controlled, right? And so that would be how we defined how the game went instead of the scoreboard or the shot count, because that's out of our control anyway. Does that make sense? We all good with that? Yeah, sweet. Okay, moving on. All right, taking charge with your teammates, taking responsibility with your teammates. Number 1 I have on here is recognize your impact. Whether you know it or not, you're changing, you're adapting your environment around you. You're changing your world around you every moment with how you act and react. So recognize your impact with your teammates. Learn and observe and understand the dynamics. By that, I mean what cliques are going on in the room, who hangs out with who, and then think about how you might be able to bring people together. Excuse me. Occasionally, on junior hockey teams at least, what kind of happens sometimes is you get the Minnesota boys who kind of hang out with each other. Then you might get Michigan boys who hang out with each other, or New York, New Jersey, New England area that then they hang out with each other. And then they just kind of end up mixing a little bit with other groups, but their main friend groups are like geographic because they're maybe flying out together to go back home for Christmas, or they played against each other growing up and so they're already familiar with each other. Or sometimes the cliques happen just based on who lives with who, and so who's over hanging out at each other's house. As much as we can as goalies, we have to interact with the whole team, right? Everybody relies on us at some point. Something that we should think about is how we can break down those small group clique borders by including groups of people from other groups, right? And the most successful teams, especially in junior, are the teams that break those down quickly and form a single group identity as a whole team, right? There's not just the Minnesota or the Michigan or the New York, like all of those guys forget that they're from all these different cliques and groups and they just become one, right? So how can you break down, we all know that there's cliques and teams, right? High school, maybe even more than juniors, right? We can all remember a time where those dynamics made things hard. There's a group of kids that only hang out and they think they're the cool group and they treat everyone else differently. We need to contribute to breaking those barriers down and building everybody as one team rather than contributing more to building these cliques, right? So how do we do that? Well, we act with integrity. We're honest and transparent. We're building each other up. We're including others. We're learning about each other. Everyone loves talking about their story and where they came from and what they did and how they did it. Ask your teammates about their lives. It sounds kind of weird, right? But especially for you junior guys, your teammates come from all over the country and the world. Learn more about their experiences and see how that might fit in with helping you become a better athlete as well. What have they done or what have they learned that you haven't yet learned that you could apply to your game? That helps build bonds, right? And so that's the last thing that I have on here. Create bonds, learn and understand your teammates. What are their motivations? What do they know that you don't? And how can you integrate their lessons into your life? And if you're a younger guy playing juniors, especially go after the oldest guys playing juniors because they've been there for 2 or 3 years or 4 years. For you guys that are in high school, if you're a freshman or a sophomore, learn from the juniors and seniors and ask questions and learn and be curious. Create bonds, build relationships with your teammates. That's your responsibility. All right, taking charge with your parents. First of all, I don't know your family dynamics and I don't want to overstep. However, as you grow up, your life is going to become more yours and less your parents, right? You're going to start driving, you're going to start being more in control of your schedule, you're going to be in control of your goals and dreams and aspirations, right? But show appreciation of them, ask for support when you need it. And share your goals with them. Make a plan and find a solution. It's your responsibility because if you want to make your hockey dreams happen, they are going to be a necessary part of it. Not saying that they're going to be doing all of the work. At some point, you're going to be doing all the work, right? But include them, especially when you're in high school. I know sometimes they're the last people that you might want to hang out with. I get that. But they're really valuable resources. You can't do it without them. And so make sure you show your appreciation of them. I want us to be really, I want this group, all of us to be really good people, not only for our teams, but for our families and in our communities. And so we need to be able to show appreciation for people and groups when they've done something good for us. And parents are no exception to that. So be honest about your goals, show appreciation, and ask for accountability, right? Your parents are with you more than most other people until you grow up and you get into juniors and stuff. But ask for accountability. Hey mom, hey dad, this is my goal. If I don't do this, would you just help me stay on track? These are my goals. Would you help me stay on track to achieve them? That could be a good solution to just maintain some accountability. All right, take charge with your coaches. Take responsibility of your career by advocating for yourself and what you might need with your coaches. Again, I don't know the dynamics of your coach or how they operate or how they handle interactions with their players, right? I don't know all of that. But what holds true is still show them your appreciation, share your goals with them, and then ask for support, right? And that could be whether it's with practice plans, for example, if you are trying to build your rebound control with your stick and pads, go ask coach, hey coach, I want to build rebound control for the first drill of practice. Could you tell the players to only shoot low so that I can practice my stick and pad saves? Or I'm working on my hands. Could you tell all the players only shoot high? Don't shoot 5-hole. Don't try to hit me. Just try to pick corners. Don't hit my head. But so that I could practice my glove and blocker. And more often than not, you'll be surprised. Coaches want to help you, especially at youth and high school levels. They want to help you, but a lot of times they just don't know how, right? And so share your goals with them and ask for support, and then they'll know how to help you. And so practice plans is a good example. Long-term career goals. If a lot of you guys might have coaches who have played college or played pro hockey, ask them about their experiences, show initiative, and then display your effort every day and show that you can develop, learn, and take feedback. And these are all only things that you can do if you talk to them, right? If you talk to your coaches, if you learn their experience, if you learn what they're looking for, if you learn what they want to see in you, that'll also help build who you become. So take the initiative. Again, a lot of times they want to help you. They just might not know how because they don't think that they speak goalie, right? In the end, we're all athletes. And so in that sense, it's not any different. Your coach might yell at you and say, stop the puck. That was an easy one. But really, what are they saying? They're saying that they want to see your effort, right? They're saying that they want to see you try. They're saying that they want to see you do the right things to set yourself up to make good saves, right? So look for the message underlying what their words say. That could help too. All right, homework. Let's think about our impact. Take charge. Let's recognize, let's think about how we influence and impact our team. And then remember that every person that you interact with has a consequence. We can either build up or destroy our teammates. We can either have a positive or a negative outcome on them each and every day. So write a list of things that you want to do this week to take responsibility of your career and to take responsibility of building your teammates. So this could be, this week, I'm going to dial in my sleep and nutrition. I'm going to make that my goal of the week. I'm going to take charge of that. Or it's this week, I'm going to take charge of asking for my coach's help to make sure that I get a good warm up before practice. Huge. But we don't always ask for that because we don't always advocate for that. And then think about how you can build your team. Take charge of it. This week, each day, I'm going to go and I'm going to talk and hang out with and work out with someone that I don't normally hang out with. Dom has it, like Dom and Sibes and the guys here in Aberdeen, they get rotated through the workout system, right? So that they're paired and matched with different groups all the time. Or at least that's what I understand it's designed to be. So that then you're working out with different guys on the team. You're not just with one buddy, not just with one person. Because again, we just want to break down cliques. We want to break down small groups, excluding others. We want to build our teams to be inclusive. Because when everybody's working together and pulling together as one, we're all better for it. So think about those things. I hope you guys have a great week. I think that's my last slide. Yep, it is. Before I get out of this, anybody have any questions that I can answer? No, we're good. All right, guys. Boom. Good to see you all. Let me know how I can support you this week, okay? Otherwise, we are going to hop off. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. See you guys.